Bienvenidas a todas las personas que están en este momento a la espera del inicio del webinar de Duke University. Mi nombre es Ángela Sánchez y voy a estar aquí apoyando entre el representante de la universidad y también respondiendo y siguiendo todas las dudas que vayan a escribir en el chat que tienen en su pantalla. Lo que nos reúne hoy es escuchar información y escuchar a Benjamin, que es parte de Nicholas School of the Environment de la Universidad de Duke de Estados Unidos. Les recuerdo adicionalmente, antes de iniciar, que Colfuturo tiene un convenio con la universidad, en particular con esta escuela, para todas las personas que sean beneficiarias de Colfuturo. De ellas, al menos 10 beneficiarios van a recibir una beca de $6,000 americanos. Entonces, sin más, espero que aprovechen toda la información y que puedan también resolver cualquier duda que tengan. So, Benjamin, thank you so much for your time. And if you want, you can start in this moment.
Sure. Thank you, Angela. And hello to everyone that's here today, and hello to everyone that will listen to the recording. As Angela said, my name is Benjamin Spain. I am the Associate Director of Enrollment Services here at the Nicholas School of the Environment. I am representing today our Master of Environmental Management and our Master of Forestry degree programs. We also have PhD and undergraduate programs. So if you happen upon this virtual presentation and have interest about those, please know that the information that I am providing does not pertain to those programs. But if you have more questions, you can always reach out to me and I can put you in touch with the correct contact here at the school. But it is a pleasure being here today. We are very fortunate to have this partnership with Cole Futuro, and later on in the presentation, I will share a little bit of information about that partnership. To get started, though, let's talk a little bit about where Duke University is for those that are unaware. We're in the United States, in Durham, North Carolina, which is on the east coast of the United States. The main campus for the Nicholas School is also in Durham, which is in the central part of the state. You can see it highlighted in red in the map above in the upper right corner. And we also have a Marine Lab campus, which some of our students will visit, particularly our coastal environmental management students. That is in Beaufort, North Carolina, which you can see is on the southern coast. The nearest airport in North Carolina for us is Raleigh Durham International, and we have connecting flights of about 8 hours that go to Bogota and then other regions of Colombia as well. So in today's presentation, I will go over these things that you see here bulleted and talk a little bit in more detail about what makes us unique as a school and why we believe you might want to consider Duke Environment for your master's degree. We have 7 different program areas within the Master of Environmental Management program. And then there is the Master of Forestry. And we also have an online degree for mid-career professionals, but please note that degree would not be eligible for COFUTURO funding. So the Master of Environmental Management has the Business and Environment program, which is training for management and analytic positions in the private sector. And it also focuses on the implementation of sustainable business practices, including subjects such as responsible sourcing, supply chain, logistics, sales and marketing, product design, corporate strategy, government affairs, and community engagement. And the Coastal Environmental Management Program, which I just mentioned a moment ago, focuses on the understanding of coastal processes, the physical and biological and marine coastal environments, and how humans affect those environments. The Ecosystem Science and Conservation Program area, which is typically our most flexible program, focuses on animal or resource conservation and investigates the impacts of natural events and human activities on ecosystems and landscapes. And when I say this is the most flexible, it is because students have the option to choose the ecosystem that is they're most passionate about and can study that in a high level of detail. The next program area is the Ecotoxicology and Environmental Health program. It studies the effects of pollutants on ecosystems and humans using toxicology, environmental chemistry, risk assessment, and ecology. The Energy and Environment program looks at energy systems, energy landscapes, and alternatives to find solutions for a more sustainable future. And right now, our biggest concentration is the Environmental Economics and Policy program, which is training in social and natural sciences so that students can become policymakers, so that they can inform policymakers and also influence policy creation around environmental issues. And last but certainly not least is our Water Resources Management program area, which helps students understand the water cycle through natural science and the changes in water availability and use in social context and processes. The Master of Forestry program provides students with a knowledge base with breadth in the ecology and management of forest resources, in depth in biology and physical sciences, silviculture, forest measurement, resource policy, economics, and administration. Students will also learn forest measurement skills in forest inventory, habitat assessment, wildlife sampling, data analysis, looking at things such as growth and yield modeling, geospatial analysis and statistics, as well as forest economics and finance. And I should note that there are plenty of students who will actually combine the Master of Environmental Management and the Master of Forestry degree, and they can do that in 2.5 to 3 years, as opposed to these programs independently running 2 years each. We also have 3 certificate options, which you can see down below. Many students will add a certificate to complement their study in one of these programs. It is not a standalone certificate, meaning you cannot take it without being in the MEM or MF program. The most popular program right now is or certificate, I'm sorry, is the Geospatial Analysis Certificate, followed by the Community-Based Environmental Management Certificate. The Climate Change Science and Application Certificate is new, but it is certainly a strong opportunity for students. They want to understand how climate change affects different populations and ecosystems. The Nicholas School has its own dedicated career and professional development center, and it's designed and operated specifically for our professional degree students. Here you can see on this tree the plethora of services that are offered for our students. Through the Career Center, students receive career coaching, resume review, and interview skills throughout their entire time at Duke and beyond as alumni as well. And the goal of our CPDC is to help all of our students maximize their career readiness. As such, our staff pledges to assist you in developing your personal career strategy, to help you refine and communicate your existing career skills and learn new ones for career success. And finally, and probably most importantly, they help you make connections with professionals and alumni in your field of interest. Beyond long-term employment, the CPDC also helps prepare students to search for and secure internships. 100% of our student respondents to last year's internship survey indicated having an internship. 96% of those were funded. We are very proud of that. That just goes to show the expertise of our career and professional development student and the desirability of our students in the program. Networking is a critical component of securing employment and navigating to new employment, and it's simply a good way to make new friends who share a common bond. The university, when I say the university, I'm speaking of the entire Duke University, has about 171,000 active alumni. 100,000 or so of those can be searched and contacted using the Duke Alumni Directory if you are a student. The Nicholas School has roughly 6,900 alumni, about 4,500 of whom graduated from our master's degree programs. And one of the very nice things that we see time and time again is that our alumni stay connected with the school with both generous financial support and support of our students. They will post internships and jobs. They will come to campus for the alumni and residence program and panel discussions. And they will also provide informational interviews for students that are interested in the kind of careers that they are currently in. So here you can see what the employment profile looks at the 6-month mark after graduation. This is for our 2018 graduates. So we're now compiling stats for our 2019 graduates, and they will probably be available in January. So you can check back on our website for those. But here you'll see just what kind of sectors that our students go into. 92% of our MEM and MF graduates secured employment within approximately 6 months of graduation. 92% of those were also in a position that was related to the environment, uh, including but not limited to the most recent graduating class. We've had students go to organizations such as Google, the Environmental Defense Fund, NOAA, which is the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, Recreational Equipment Inc., or REI, Environmental Resources Management, which is a consulting group, and the Forest Service. Job titles include project analyst, consultant, campaign coordinator, and many others. And on the next slide, I'll show you some examples that include some employers in Mexico and Colombia and Latin America in general. Our graduates can be found in many different sectors. While the employment distribution will vary year to year and by program area, typically consulting and business and industry are our largest sectors. Additional employment profiles, as I mentioned before, as well as internship profiles, can be found on our website. So here are a few of the employment examples. I actually didn't mention Facebook, but Facebook is an employer of a few of our students. You can see there's other companies as well. Forgive me if I don't get these names correctly, but La Reserva Biológica del Sur del Mundo, for instance, PayJoy, Transforma, etc., and Google also. Enhancing diversity, equity, and inclusion at the Nicholas School is central to achieving our mission of creating knowledge and leaders with consequence for a sustainable future. So, diversity being that range of human identities that are represented in the composition of our student, staff, and faculty, and the leadership of our school, promotes diversity of cognition. We do a better job of identifying and building knowledge about environmental problems, developing novel research tactics to confront them, and teaching about them when we bring more diverse perspectives into the school. And so this is very central to our mission as a school. Not only do we teach about diverse topics that reach diverse audiences, but we also want to have representation from a large range of students within our program. And so this is one of the reasons we are so happy to have this relationship with Cofacturo, because it helps us to provide that international perspective of Colombian students in the program, and then they can take that knowledge and go back and affect change in Colombia. And so it's a way that we can share our impact beyond just the doors of the Nicholas School and in the region of North Carolina. So I should note that the school's strategic plan, which orients our short-term plans for long-term solutions, has goals of elevating diversity and inclusion in our leadership, and also increasing student, faculty, and staff diversity, and improving inclusivity, which is the other component that is very vital to incorporating diversity within the school. We have a DNI, or Diversity and Inclusion Pipeline Program Coordinator, Nikki Cagle. But there's also an Actionators team of faculty and staff, and there are also student groups focused on diversity-related issues of importance. We will look at a few of those groups here in just a few moments. Before we get there, though, I wanted to also give a shout out to two important locations for the Nicholas School. The first being Duke Forest. So we're the only school of the environment in the world, of our knowing at least, that has both a forest and a marine lab. The Duke Forest spans 3 different counties around us. It's 7,000 plus acres, and you can get to parts of Duke Forest within 5 minutes of leaving the campus. And so it's a nice place to recreate. It's a nice place to study. And we even have people that are living on parts of Duke Forest as well. So it's a living forest that is professionally managed, and it provides tons of opportunities, especially if you're interested in forestry as a career. But nonetheless, there are plenty of students in other programs that utilize the forest just because there's so much diversity within the forest. There are streams, there are tree spreads that date back to the 1930s, there are research plots that date back to the 1930s. And there's always research going on within the forest, and there's ways to get involved if interested as well. The Duke Marine Lab, which I mentioned a little bit before, is actually its own private island on the coast of North Carolina. The only other thing on that island is the NOAA site. Again, is the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. We do have some students and alumni who work for NOAA. It provides opportunities for about 3,500 students, scholars, and visitors annually. And of those, we have about 20 to 40 coastal environmental management students that will be at the Marine Lab at any given time. So, a really cool place to go. You do not have to be a coastal student to go. And I will note that there's a unique opportunity for students who are entering the program to visit and study at the Marine Lab the summer prior to matriculating in their first year. And so the only requirement for that is that you pay room and board. The tuition is waived for that time period. And so typically students can knock out 1 to 2 classes in that time span. And it just gives them a chance to change their scenery up and learn from faculty that do not come to the Durham campus and see another part of North Carolina that they might otherwise not be able to. So, again, we're always trying to find those unique opportunities for our students. Another reason students choose the Nicholas School is the quality of Duke's faculty and the innovative curriculum that we have. So, students work on master's projects, which are different than a master's thesis, which you might would see in a Master of Science program. This focuses on a current environmental problem or opportunity that students will tackle either solo or as a group, typically as a group these days, because that does prepare them for the dynamics of a team environment, which they will have upon graduation. There are opportunities to do original research, and some of that is actually even a publishable quality by this time the student finishes the program. And it is a good deliverable that you can talk about when you're in interviews with employers as well. There are also many centers around the school, one being the Duke River Center, which is outside the doors of Granger Hall, which is the main building that our students are in. Some students will have opportunities to participate in any of the various labs that we have at the school. And then taking a look at what the faculty are involved in, you have an opportunity to plug into some of their research as well. And if nothing else, pick their brain and really understand what it is that makes them tick and how they've got to where it is that they are now, which is immensely helpful. It's always fascinating to me the brilliance of our faculty, but also how approachable they are. And they have expertise in areas such as atmospheric science, economics, policy, and governance, toxicology, sustainability, of course, and ecology and conservation. So we really encourage you, if you're going through the process of deciding if the Nicholas School is right for you, there are opportunities to hear from them. And if you would ever like us to connect you with one of our faculty members, please let us know. We can do that as well. Some of these collaborative opportunities are found here. For instance, we have relationships with both UNC Chapel Hill, University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, which is a school about 20 minutes down the road from us. Also with NC Central University, which is here in Durham, and NC State University, which is in Raleigh, the capital of North Carolina. All of these schools have an agreement with us that if there's a class that you want to take at their school, you can take it without an additional tuition charge. And so that opens up the realm of possibilities as far as what it is you're studying. We have so much that students can do here, such as taking classes at the law school or with the Sanford School of Public Policy. You really probably don't even need to go outside of our campus, but if there's just a unique class that you want, certainly there are additional opportunities available for you through that interinstitutional agreement. We also have a relationship with Duke Kunshan University. It is, I would consider it our sister university in China. They have a fantastic up and coming international Master of Environmental Policy program. And so if you're interested in policy in particular and want to learn about it in an environmental or an international setting, you have the opportunity to study there for a semester. They have a website with more details as well, which I would suggest that you check out if you are interested. One of the things that is hard for me to talk about in a presentation format is what life is like in Durham and Beaufort. It's one of those things that it's just better if you can experience it for yourself. But I do know that Durham is a vibrant and diverse community. It makes up one third of what's known as the Research Triangle, which is Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill. And there's a Research Triangle Park that's also in Durham, and it has more than 170 major research companies that employ over 39,000 full time workers. There are scientific organizations here in the area as well, such as the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency and RTI International. And Forbes, which is a magazine, ranks cities as far as best areas for business and careers. And Durham, North Carolina is ranked 13th on that list. Also, if you like food, Durham is a fantastic place to be. Durham has been named the tastiest town in the South by one of the well acclaimed magazines here in the U.S. There are food types for everyone. Just because there is so much diversity in the region, we have great food from India, from Mexico. We have several restaurants that serve Colombian food, but Southern food, the kind of food that you can't find outside of the southern part of the United States, is, of course, our specialty. And if you haven't had it before, I do think you would enjoy it. You can easily get to the coast just as quickly as you can the mountains, just based on the location that we're in, which is very nice. It's only about 2.5 hours to the coast of North Carolina, and it's about three to the mountains, which we have the Blue Ridge Mountains in North Carolina and parts of the Appalachian Mountains as well. If you like festivals, Durham has about 50 annual festivals, including the American Dance Festival, the NC Pride Parade and Festival for our LGBTQIA plus community. There's the World Beer Festival and the SunTrust Broadway series, which brings performing arts to the area that are touring in other parts of the United States and the world. For instance, Hamilton, the show, which has world acclaim, has been to the Durham Performing Arts Center in the past. Beaufort, on the other hand, is a quaint town. It's much smaller with less than 5,000 year round residents. But it's a very unique place in that when the tourists aren't there, uh, you you really get a sense for how close knit that community is, and our students living there year round really become a part of that community. North Carolina State University and UNC, whom I've mentioned earlier, also have marine labs in nearby Morehead City. Sometimes we'll have students that will work together on projects with those labs. Without question, our students and faculty make an impact not only in Durham, but also in Beaufort and throughout the world as well. Being a professional program as we are, we do strive to give our students ample opportunities to make an immediate impact even before they graduate. For example, we have partnerships. One of these partnerships is between us and Counterculture Coffee, which helps small coffee farmers in Latin America adapt to the effects of climate change. Counterculture Coffee has worked with almost a dozen MEM students over the past 5 years, hosting two group master's projects, an internship, and a research assistantship. And through this partnership, students interviewed leaders in the local coffee industry and other non governmental agencies to identify environmental, political, and economic conditions that could impact the approaches that could be implemented in an effective way. So, students would help to narrow strategies to income diversification, integrated pest management, solar coffee dryers, rainwater collection systems, and seed banks and nurseries. They then created a workshop that could be used all across countries where farmers could find ways to make their own adaptations to these plans for growing and harvesting and selling their coffee. And our 2017 MEM graduate, Eleanor Johnstone, connected with the Nicholas School alum and the San Francisco 2030 district and they joined together, and Eleanor created an MP project with that San Francisco 2030 district. If you're not aware, which I was not, the San Francisco 2030 district has a goal of reducing carbon emissions, water use, and energy use by 50% by the year 2030. And so part of Eleanor's project was determining the baseline transportation emissions with the buildings that were in that district. And then she created a plan for helping them reduce their emissions as a result. We also became a community partner with the San Francisco 2030 district, and it opens doors for future collaboration. And so, again, we're taking the expertise that our students develop in the program to create relationships that transcend their time in the program, but it opens doors for students like yourself to go in and work on master's projects in the future. Or if nothing else, it's building rapport in these areas. So maybe you could do your own master's project and just build upon that reputation that pre-exists. And we're very fortunate that our students are going out and making an impact in places just besides North Carolina. Our master's projects, which I've spoken a little bit about before, I just wanted to give you a few examples of what they look like. So we had 5 students last year, 4 of whom were Master of Forestry or MEM/MF students, helped an African American landowner in eastern North Carolina by surveying his forest acreage and analyzed the economic and ecological value of it, and then helped him develop a management plan that put the objectives that he had first. And so it was a creative way to help the environment, but also help the landowner. And that's, if we wanted to boil the program down to one big takeaway, that is what we try to do. We try to merge the science that underpins all that we're doing here with ways to help it resonate with different audiences. And so if you're a landowner, you want to know how to maximize the revenue of your land and also protect it. If you're a business, you want to know how to increase your revenue, but maybe also building rapport with your clients. And so our program helps figure out those mesh points and figure out how we can talk more effectively with these audiences and ultimately move the dial to better environmental conservation and protection. We also had a 2018 MEM graduate. Her name was Emily Mesa. She had a master's project that worked with the Alabama Center for Rural Enterprise through a partnership with the Duke Human Rights Center at the Franklin Humanities Institute. And they worked on rural wastewater and sanitation issues that largely affected African Americans in a poor county of Alabama. And one final example, just to help you understand how international the impact of our students is. We had a 2019 graduate that spent his summer of 2018 in India conducting surveys and mapping energy infrastructure in the rural regions to determine the correlation between electrification and quality of life. We also have travel courses, and students will go to various locations for about 10 days. A few of those are travel days, but locations in the past have included Kauai, which is in Hawaii, Oaxaca in Mexico, Panama, Singapore, and others. Everyone can find a way to get involved with the many student clubs and professional organizations here at the Nicholas School. These clubs serve as opportunities for students to network, to engage in leadership and management roles, to develop new skills, and to also diversify their perspectives on environmental issues. So wherever your interests lie, you can find clubs and organizations that support them. For instance, for students wanting to use their degree in the private business sector, they can join the Business and Environment Net Impact Club. And this is one of just many active clubs. They usually go to the national conference, and they also host career talks with alumni and other speakers. For instance, we had an alum of the program. She was a Master of Environmental Management and Master of Business Administration graduate. And she's now the Senior Manager of Renewable Energy at Walmart. She came in and talked to this group. Another program of note is the Working Group of the Environment in Latin America. Their goal is to foster dialogue concerning critical environmental issues affecting Latin America, to improve the understanding of the social, historical, political, and cultural context in which these issues are embedded, and also to build capacity among an interdisciplinary and cross institutional group of individuals to address and conduct research on Latin American issues. So, if there's something that you are seeing in your own region that you want to bring to the attention of the school, this is a good outlet to get that conversation started. And you can find other like minded people that want to do the same kind of work within this student organization. For our application, we require these items that you see on the screen here. Um, I will note if you wanted to apply to both the Master of Environmental Management program and the Master of Business Administration program, we would accept the GMAT in lieu of the GRE. Otherwise, students will be required to take the GRE. If your native language is not English, we also require the TOEFL or the IELTS. We do offer waivers for those tests if you earn your undergraduate degree in the United States, if you earned an undergraduate or master's degree from an English only speaking institution, or if you've been working in the United States for 2 years or more. So, as we get towards the end here, I definitely want to spend a moment or two to talk about this uh, relationship that we have with Cofuturo. And this may be a good opportunity if you have a question that I can answer. Maybe Angela could help with that today. Further down the road, we also have a partner with Johanna Torres, who is my direct contact working with the Cofuturo program. You can contact her as seen on the next screen. We'll go ahead and show you that now if you want to take down that information. But the purpose of Cofuturo is to increase the possibilities for Colombian citizens to access high quality postgraduate study programs abroad. So graduates will return to Colombia to encourage the promotion of constant social, economic, and cultural transformation. And the Colombian citizens that apply to our program are eligible for Cofuturo consideration. On the Nicholas School application, applicants will indicate if they are eligible and interested in Cofuturo. And if the applicant is admitted into the Nicholas School and to the Cofuturo program, the Nicholas School will award up to 10 admitted students a minimum scholarship of $6,000 US dollars per year for 2 years. Please note that applicants must also apply independently for Cofuturo program consideration. If you are awarded entry into the program, Cofuturo will loan the applicant up to $25,000 per year for up to 2 years for a maximum of $50,000. And keep in mind earlier, this is a 2 year program, so that works well with that. And if the student returns to Colombia and stays for a pre-established period, which is usually 3 years, 40% of the loan will be canceled. And then there are an additional 20% bonuses given to beneficiaries who work full-time in the public sector or as an academic or researcher. Beneficiaries who work in a city other than Bogota or its metropolitan area will also receive an additional 20% bonus. If you have questions beyond that about how the Cofuturo loan program works, I would highly recommend that you speaking to someone with the Cofuturo organization. I can speak more so about how it works on the Nicholas School end, but I'd rather you speak to an expert to make sure that you're making the best financial decision for yourself. The priority deadline for our application this year is December 16th, and the regular deadline is January 17th. If you have any questions, please know you can always reach out by email at admissions@nicholas.duke.edu. Below that is our phone number. You can call anytime between 9 and 5 p.m. Eastern Time to speak with a member of the admissions team. So please do not hesitate reaching out to us. I'll also say there's a few ways you can stay connected through social media. This is a great way for you to get a feel for the school, to see what's happening. We post lots of pictures on a daily basis, and you can see what our faculty are doing, what our students are doing, what we're doing for our students. We just got done with a decompress your stress event where we had various activities for students to help them relieve some of the stress that comes with the end of the semester, for instance. We are also traveling, although our travel season has wrapped up for the year. Uh, Next year, if you're interested, please check out our events page to see where we will be. We were in Colombia last year, so there's a chance that we'll be back in the future. We certainly would like to come back. But if you ever find yourself in the United States, certainly we do more travel in the US. And so if you see us somewhere, come by and see us. We'd love to talk to you. And finally, if you haven't already signed up for our mailing list, I would really encourage you to do so. It's a great opportunity for you to learn about the school incrementally. So what we try to do is every week to 10 days, we send out a message with another facet of the program in a easy to digest format, so that you're incrementally building your knowledge of the program. And that also allows you opportunities. If there's something you see that you want to know more about, you can reach out to us and we can help answer those questions for you. And so if you haven't before created your student profile, that also gives you an opportunity to put in some additional details so that when we send these emails, we make sure we're sending content that's curated for you and that's relevant, and so that you will want to continue reading. The goal is not to spam you and give you a lot of information that's not relevant to you. So that concludes my presentation. I guess now, Angela, I would open up to questions.
Yeah, Benjamin, thank you so much. We have some questions. The first one is related to the requirement, the admissions requirements, and
Yes.
someone is asking if there is any option of having a GRE or GMAT waiver. Does have happened anytime?
We do not have a waiver of the GRE or the GMAT. So, depending on the program you're applying to, it will be required. Um, but that is, I should also note that we have a very holistic application review process. And so I'm not sure what the motivation for the question is, but we typically get that a lot of times the students are worried about what their scores might be. Um, we look at every aspect of the application from the letters of recommendation to the college and undergraduate transcripts, and we try to formulate an educated opinion about the student's opportunity for success. And we realize there are a lot of students that are good students that might not necessarily have the strongest GRE scores. So,
Yes.
uh, general advice on that is typical is to definitely try your best and apply with a score that you think is most indicative of your ability. But do know that we realize that it's just one piece, and there are other ways to determine if the student will be successful with us. So don't stress about it. That actually could make things worse. but but do your best and know that we're going to look for the best in you as well.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think that this question is related because maybe someone doesn't have like a high score. But
Mhm.
we're going to move to the next question. Is okay, you were talking about the San Francisco 23 district project.
Yes.
This kind of projects can be designed by the students or are just like proposed from the staff and the faculty.
That's a good question. So it actually works both ways. If there's something that a student is passionate about that they would like to do, they do have the opportunity to uh, propose their own project. And as long as it's well thought out, the faculty will generally be on board with that. There are other opportunities, however, that are pre-existing, that the faculty have already expressed an interest in. And so if you're having a difficult time deciding where you want to start, looking at some of those ideas that are already out there are a good place to start. And from there, you can branch out. And if there's something that's of interest to you as you're working through the project, you can certainly take it in your own direction as well.
Okay, thank you. And
Yeah.
the final question that we have is, okay, at the beginning of the presentation, you were talking about some opportunities of collaboration.
Hmm.
Um, there are two questions. The first one is if these opportunities of collaboration can be used like for internship. And the second question is that these collaborations applied equally to all the school programs or just for one of them.
It would apply equally for both the Master of Environmental Management and the Master of Forestry program.
Okay.
And I mean, even if we're talking about undergrads or PhDs, they typically would have access to these as well. And this is just a small sampling of some of the collaborative opportunities. There's also collaborations with organizations that are not listed here. And so, certainly, there would be opportunities if the student wants to propose an internship, they
Mhm.
can do that. Some of these offer internships on a regular basis. And so a student can keep their eyes open to see when they become available. And also, we have a program called the Stand Back Fellowship Program, which offers paid internships for students in the summer of typically $5,000 to $6,000, depending on the location and the cost of living in that area. Most of those are in the southeastern United States, but not all of them. And they are typically going to be nonprofits and non governmental organizations focused on conservation issues. And that's roughly 100 different opportunities every year. We have the employers come to campus, and the students will go to them and actually interview, more like a round robin format where they may have 3 or 4 interviews in any day. And those are certainly popular internship possibilities as well. We do have internships that just come through from our alumni and from people who have had interns in the past and they were impressed with them. And so, using that momentum that we have of being a reputable program, it really helps our students in finding those internships. And I think that's one of the major reasons that we have such a high uh, placement rate is not a word, but a high internship rate. So 100% of those who responded to the internship survey reported having an internship last year. A large percentage of those went through the Stand Back internship fellowship program, but there are others too that a student just saw and was interested in and decided to pursue it. And oftentimes they would consult the CPDC in how to go about that interview process, what to put on a resume specifically for that interview. Um, and also, they would likely collaborate with alumni for informational interviews that help prepare them to understand what kind of questions may be asked and how to convey their experience and their passion for that project.
Okay, so thank you so much for your answers. I think that those were all the questions. To everyone that was online, if you want to have more information or if you are like having further questions in the next days, remember that on our webpage there is the agreement document. So you will find Benjamin's data and Joanna's, I mean, data that is the part of the Call Future. So in that document, you have the like the all guidelines of our agreement. And also, I want to inform you and remind you that this week we were celebrating the USA Education Week. Also, we were part of the International Education Week celebration. That is an initiative of the U.S. Department of State and the U.S. Department of Education. So thank you so much for being part of this. And also, to finish, we will send in this presentation and the link to YouTube of this presentation next week to your email. So if you have any questions or anything like that, please contact Benjamin or contact Call Futura. So thank you so much, and I don't know, Benjamin, if you want to say something to finish.
Sure. Just I'd like to say thank you back to you for hosting me today, and thank you to everyone who attended this webinar. As Angela said, please feel free to reach out to me at any time if you have any questions. You can see my information here on the screen, and I hope that we build a lasting connection, and hopefully that you'll come through the Nicholas School at some point.
Okay, thank you, Benjamin, and have a nice day, everyone.
Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.